Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. We would not be where we are without the incredible support of John and the team. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
That'll teach me, won't it? Unbelievable. Thank you to everybody that let me know. Hope you all liked my intro. At least something works. It's good to know. One day. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Let me know. Let me know. I know, I can see that. Are we good? It looks like I'm good now. I'm looking for the comments. Back. Thank you, Toddy. Can always rely on you. Always check your settings. I never had to do that in StreamYard. But do have to do it in OBS and Stream Builder. So that's on me. We will be going more than 10 minutes today, by the way. We always tend to do when I'm live. I don't know if you've noticed, but when I'm recorded, even though it's recorded as live, and some of you may have already seen something similar to what you've just seen there, where I went live once, just uploaded it without checking it. I do it as live, and I don't even sometimes check it. I just post it, and it's gone because I want it to be as real and as raw as it can be. Like this will be, but no restrictions today. I know it's called 10-minute transfers. I'm not going to go miles into the morning, but I'm happy for people to have their say, and we'll try and get through as many comments as we can. So basically, I wanted to come on this morning, and there's no... I'm not a big one for like loose links. I've come on before and used these 10-minute transfer slots to sort of debunk some stuff in terms of I don't think these are credible. I've sort of tried to use it at times to say we can't all get carried away with some of the sources that we're looking at as well. There's nothing really at the moment that is credible in my eyes that will tell you that we are definitely doing something on a certain player. I've put David Brooks and Louie Barry in the thumbnail. Ashley Phillips has been circulated as well. I can't find any solid ties back to them that I would be comfortable in saying it's a goer. I've not asked the question because I don't want to be that guy that just keeps going to the club and saying what's going on. They won't necessarily always tell me either, so I don't want to make out like I'm this big YouTuber that goes and gets all these info, because they don't always tell me. They don't have to tell me anything. So it's difficult really, and I wanted to try and gauge people's thoughts on it because at the moment I did a 10-minute transfer yesterday on Ali McCann, and there have been some reasonable links to Ali McCann from Preston. We're losing Vinny Souza. We're potentially bringing in Ali McCann. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. And then it was the first time I started to waver a little bit in terms of why we're letting Kessler Hayden slip through his fingers. Why was David Brooks at that time appearing to go to West Brom? Why was Louie Barry looking like he was going to Hull? Both of those two last deals have since fallen through, by the way, with other interested parties apparently in the mix. Hull didn't want to commit to Villa's financial incentive of, I think it was a £3.5 million transfer fee, but a 50% sell on. If we can get that for Louie Barry, we're absolutely laughing. I don't know why Hull would pull out of that deal. That's on them. Fair enough. David Brooks, I think it's been a case of another club's in, but there's nobody to say that that's Sheffield United. It would be great to have David Brooks back. There are some people online saying, why do we just always get linked with previous players? Why would we go back to David Brooks or Tommy Doyle or players like this? Because it's not because they used to play for us, it's because they're a proven commodity, not only at the level, but in a Sheffield United shirt. They're familiar with the surroundings. They had good previous spells there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with linking us with previously successful players. The Ollie McBurney one did cause some controversy, but if Iliman and Dye came back to Sheffield United, or Morgan Gibbs-White, or Dean Henderson, I don't think anybody would be saying, why are we going back? We're going backwards here. We're going backwards. A load of rubbish. So this morning, it's a case of how are you feeling? You knew my perspective yesterday. I'm trying to come more round to the way of thinking that there's a lot of time left. Obviously, the Brooks and Barry deal haven't gone through yet and don't look like they were going through as it appeared. It's likely that we're not in for either of them, if I'm honest. But I was getting sort of caught up a little bit and sort of a little bit jittery, twitchy, I think I called it, on not being in for the players that we would normally be in for, if that makes sense. Just while I'm on, by the way, obviously I'm due a haircut, but I'm also due to go away in a couple of weeks. So, what do we think? Do I need to get an interim cut, or do I just wait like that Man United kid who's growing his hair out till Man United win, and then get a proper buzz down to Wood when I go away? Let me know. It's a really important subject. So, in terms of the transfers at Sheffield United, that is my view. Tomorrow night, we have got an alternative view to this coming up, and it is a view from the mountain. Now, I've spoken to Paul about this. I don't think we've done it on stream. We've certainly done it privately. Myself, the Three Mighty Blades got on a call last night, just talking about a few bits. And Paul was saying he thinks we are levelling up. He thinks we're not being linked with previous targets because the new targets are of a higher level, which is exciting to think of. There's a name floated in the mix that I'm not comfortable sort of sharing at the minute, and won't do until I get the nod. But if that appears to be right, then that would give some credence to what Paul is saying. So I'm trying not to get overly excited because there's new sources popping up all over the place, and until they're tested, we can't go down that rabbit hole. We just can't, because there's too much speculation out there, and it sends people whapped, doesn't it? So let's start off on your comments this morning. Let's see where they originally started in the chat. It was Scott was first one to say, "Good morning, Ramblers and Ramblettes." Ramblettes, nice one, mate. Big week this week to get a couple in before the lads go on summer camp, I believe on Sunday. Need 2 to 3 players. Centre back, right back, and left wing, and we're good to go. Do you just mean for the trip away, Scott? Yeah, possibly that. Possibly. Max says, "Morning, mate. Do you have any info on why Peck wasn't at training yesterday? He might have been, but wasn't on any of the photos. Also, we get 15% sell-on fee for Sousa and Flamenco are due 400 grand. I saw that report, Max, on Sousa. Yeah, again, I'd need... if that's right, I don't mind it at all. In terms of City, sometimes players get special dispensation for extended, like an extra day or two. So if he's been away, or if he's nursing an injury or something like that, he's not forced to have been involved. At the moment, I don't think there's any reason why City wouldn't be involved in first team training at the moment. And take that for whatever you want. But he went away with Alfie Gilchrist, didn't he? I don't know whether he's still away. I haven't been keeping up with his socials, unfortunately. But does it become much more important now that City stays because we're losing Vinny? Would you all tend to agree with that, or do you think the fact that it's rumoured that Gus comes back central, you can then have him and Arblaster, and obviously Peck is in and around it, but also there's also Tom Davis in and around it. I think we've got options. We've always said that central midfield is our most stacked area. S17 says, "Morning, Jimmy. Start to get a bit twitchy with the lack of activity. You and me both, pal. Other clubs moving. Birmingham seem to be hijacking and signing every target up all the Rambles. They are the new Villa, aren't they? And they'll hate that. And I don't mean it in a sort of forced rivalry between the two of them way. But a couple of seasons ago when we got promoted to the Premier League, Villa just came in and topped us for everything, didn't they? They took Ollie Watkins, they took Matty Cash. There were another one, I think, that we were linked with that Villa swooped in and got, just because they could pay him more money. So, apparently Flamengo take 3% of the transfer fee we got for Vinny. Is this true? Don't know, is the honest answer. It wouldn't surprise me, but that's not, does anyone else feel like now would be the perfect time, says Josh, to sell Gus? Definitely at peak value now, and unless fitness levels change, I'm not sure we'll get the best out of him under Ruben. Well, we don't know we're not going to get the best out of him, do we? I wouldn't be selling Gus. I know what you're saying in terms of peak value. I think you're probably right. Unless he gets super fit under Ruben and has a really good season. But at the age he's at, he's got one more big contract, hasn't he, really, I think. So I can see the argument in terms of monetary, but I think we can't replace Gusema. We can replace Vinny Souza to a degree with a different type of player even, but you could still get away with, he's not an absolute game changer. There's not many of them about, but Gusema certainly is one. Jack says, Brooks is a player we need to go get. I think letting him go to a West Brom or Southampton is a real disadvantage. He's a player who knows both leagues, and it's quality. He is quality. He is a quality player, particularly at this level. We saw it for Southampton year before last, was it, when he came on loan? And I think he came on loan from January to Southampton, which is undoubtedly why they might be interested again. Really good player. Really played really well for them, as thankfully appeared to have got over his health issues. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody telling me it sounds back on. Thank you very much. Apologies. Loose lips sink ships, says Chris. Absolutely right. David says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're good, pal. Up all the rambles, up the blades, like and subscribe. Chris says, thank you, David. Chris says, missing out on good players. I think the owners are being badly advised. Possibly. As I say, I've heard a name, which I'm not going to go into, because if I set Airs Racing, then it gets ridiculous. But if there's some truth to it, then it does point towards us raising the bar a little bit. So, and not many people have heard of this player. So it doesn't necessarily mean it must be talking about, I don't know, a Premier League player that we're all aware of. No, I'm not going to say any more on that. You have to sell like everyone else in your situation, says Jamie. You lose Vinny, Gus, and one other player. It's just how it is. Your show is a great watch, though, pal. Marching on together. Thank you, pal. I'm convinced we don't lose Gus, but in principle, what you say is right. We will probably lose another player that we're not willing to lose or not wanting to lose. I still think Anel goes. There is always the possibility that Anel sees out his contract and just doesn't sign a new one. I think Peck is another one to keep an eye on, if I'm honest. We need to be in the race for these players like Brooks, Louie Barry and Kessler Hayden. We always seem to be one step behind all the time. Do we though, Jack? And I love that you've brought this up, because I made this same point on yesterday's video. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm debating with myself as well on this. Do we need to be in the race for these players? I would say yes. Under Chris Wilder, I believe that at least two of these three players, and it could be any two of the three, we would be in the mix for, and we would be talking to, and we would be interested in. It doesn't appear as though we are at the moment, even though none of the three have gone anywhere yet. It doesn't appear as though we are in the race for them. We might be, is the first thing. But the second thing is it because we've got alternative targets lined up? And does that mean that they're necessarily going to be worse players than David Brooks? No, it doesn't, does it? Does it mean it's going to be a worse player than Louie Barry or Kessler Hayden? No. I think we just have to try and see how it. I was going to say, I've said it a couple of times, we can't always say trust the process, because we don't know what the process is. But we have to see how it plays out, don't we? We have to see how it plays out. My thoughts are, can we find better than these players with the price tag? Well, that is clearly what the club must think if we're not in for them. It must be. Morning, my friend, says Stephen. Good morning, my friend. How are you? Hope you're well, mate. I'm not worried as per se, but I think we should be at the races for these type of players, says Jack. Matt says, while we're on former players, surely Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be dropping down a level. Yeah, possibly. I think he's struggled at Premier League level. His fitness has been the main thing, hasn't it? That's been the main concern. I don't think we'll be in for a striker. I know he's on a free. Where does he fit in our side? He probably starts, doesn't he? Let's be right. There's no two ways about it. He probably becomes the number one striker at the club if he were to come in. And this is definitely hypothetical because I don't think he's coming. But then we've got 4 strikers, 4 what you would call very good Championship strikers, or good to very good, in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Tyrese Campbell, Tom Cannon, who you spent £10 million on, by the way, so you don't want to be pushing down the pecking order, and Kiefer Moore. So I don't think we will be going for a headline striker, in all honesty. Go for a buzz cut. Buzz cut the lot. Do you mean now, though, Jack? Max says buzz. Yeah, get the lot chopped off, says Ian. I'm not going to get rid of this little bit because my head's an odd shape, but we'll see. We'll see. Johnny says he's not too worried what in terms of my hair. Got a strong squad base to start with. That was my take from Sayers. Exits will dictate any incomings, which will be a level up where possible. Great point, Johnny. Great point. And I think this is probably something that Man Mountain might touch on himself tomorrow night. We can't forget how strong a position we're in currently. And yes, if we're losing Vinny, which it looks like we are, and probably one more, we'll automatically, clearly, be weaker than last season. All the loans have gone back, but a lot of people would argue they didn't really strengthen our first team significantly anyway. So we do need reinforcements, undoubtedly. I'd expect 6, 7, 8 players at least to come in. But I'm like Johnny, I'm not, when my logical brain clicks in, or logical side of my brain kicks in, I'm not overly concerned. There's a name in the mix I don't feel comfortable sharing yet. Wait to get me excited. I'm going to be thinking about this for ages now. It's not my info to share, pal. And I don't want to set airs racing. Again, like I say, it might be nothing. Morning, Jimmy. Maybe we're fishing in a bigger pond than the players mooted. Marco, you are on the same wavelength as this man. Look at that. Look at that. If that doesn't get the views with eyes like that, I could just dive into them. That's a joke, by the way. Yeah, Mark, that's what Paul tends to think, to be honest. That we may be, hopefully, fishing in a bigger pool. And it's a great way of looking at it. Ray says, remember the takeover took ages with these new owners, so looks like transfers are going to be the same way. We'll miss out on targets, it seems, says Ray. Max says he was playing 5 or 6 aside in Sheffield the other day, from what I've seen on TikTok with Josh Windass. Siddy, that is. Okay. Josh Windass. The Puhausery. Hyder says, it's quite obvious that nobody wants to play for Sayers, not even the players who have played for him before. We're not levelling up. We are struggling to sign anyone. My prediction is Sayers is sacked in record time. Interesting take, and you're more than entitled to it, Hyder pal, who's a regular contributor and comes on often. I disagree with this though. I disagree. I don't think it's obvious that nobody wants to play for him. I think you listen to a lot of the podcasts that his previous players have done, and I think it leans quite positively into his methods, strict and disciplined and high standards. But that's what we want, isn't it, surely? That's surely what we want from it. Let's have a look. Scott says, morning, pal. Hope you're okay, mate. I'd love Brooks back, to be honest. I think at champ level 2, it'd be a superb signing. Do you expect anything to happen soon, bud? Up the blades, up all the rambles. I would love David Brooks back too, pal. And the reason we want David Brooks back, and the reason we want Louie Barry, and the reason we want Kessler Hayden is because we're familiar with these players, isn't it? To a degree, we are familiar with these players. Kessler Hayden got Preston's Player of the Year last season at right back on loan from Villa. Louie Barry absolutely lit up League One last season, then got recalled by Villa to go to Hull and test him at a higher level. Hull under Sayers, and then got an injury really early on to that loan spell. So we know a little bit, obviously we know all about David Brooks. So we know about them, which is why we want them, and we know how good they can be. And that takes a lot of the risk away in terms of them being unproven and things like that. But there are also targets out there that we won't have heard of, whether that's further down the league, whether that's Premier League 2 or something like that. There will be players that could come in and make a difference. How many of us, in all honesty, and some might have done, How many of us had heard of Tommy Doyle and James McAtee before they came to Sheffield United? I hadn't heard. I'd heard a little bit about Tommy Doyle, a little bit, because he was Man City under-23s captain. And other than that, I'd heard nothing. So I'm not overly concerned. In terms of how soon I expect it to happen, it would be a guess, Scott. It would be a guess, pal. But last season, we made our first signing on the 4th, which is Friday this time, on the 4th of July. So we'll see. We'll see. But new manager coming in, getting to know his players, might take a touch longer. Not worried at all, says Luke. We haven't missed out on any game changes. Good way to look at it, pal. What's your thoughts on new front of shirt sponsor? Midnight, a betting company, was always going to come after Prince Abdullah sold. I think it was much more likely that it could have come in. In terms of aesthetics, I quite like it. I really like it. Better than the wavy cat, in my opinion. But I think it'll look quite nice. Obviously, I'm not a huge shirt guy, as you know. I obviously want the home shirt particularly to look nice. I do like the like little bits of when we've got like black outlines to the stripes and stuff like that. But that's just a personal preference. In terms of being a betting sponsor, no issues with that at all. Personally, it's not something that that bothers me in the slightest. I'm quite excited to see what they can do, to be honest, in terms of, does it mean more involvement with the club? Are they going to get involved? Because Maneki didn't really do anything, did they? But are Midnight going to be doing stuff like player-based and releasing stuff through their own social media to sort of expand that relationship? Wait and see. David says, wait and have the haircut just before the holidays. I think that's what I'm going to do, David, because I'm a tight Yorkshireman, and it also feels pretty good when there's quite a lot of hair to get rid of. You feel like you're having a proper holiday haircut then, don't you? But I will look like a bit of a scruff on stream until then, unfortunately. No major signings again. Here we go, says Phil. Here we go again, should I say. Luke says, Scott, as long as they're paying well and the shirt looks good, or playing well, and the shirt looks good with it on it, I'm fine with it. Yourself? And Scott says, a betting company never bothers me, Luke. Like you said, if they're paying good money, it could have been paying good. If they're paying good money, then it's all good. Kessler Hayden was announced by Coventry yesterday on TikTok. Well, there you go then. There you go. That shows how behind I am. I was doing intros all day yesterday. That was my day. I didn't get out in the taxi like I wanted to do. I'm hopefully going to jump out in the taxi this afternoon. We shall see. Jack says, I understand people's worry about no signings in yet, but like said on 3MB, he needs to assess the team and see if players will be up to scratch for his system. Very excited for the Sayers era. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Well said, Jack. Thank you, pal. Unless we're levelling up with our recruitment, says Jack, and the type of players we're going for, then no, we don't need to be in the race for them. But if we aren't, then we should be. United are very predictable. Slow out. How are we predictable? That I will push back on straight away. Can you tell me what we're going to do next in the transfer market, Jack? Because I can't. I think we've gone from being the most predictable side in the Championship in terms of playing style and everything to the most unpredictable. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Slow out of the blocks and deals get towards the middle to the end of the window. The majority of deals will get done towards the end of the window, undoubtedly, because Premier League squads are finalising their squad, particularly with loans. Premier League teams are finalising their squads, and they know who's expendable to them then. They've got a much better idea. So that's why it tends to lean towards the back end of the window. Obviously, we would all want it done a lot sooner. By that time, most of the upcoming talent are elsewhere. Max says, Jimmy, yesterday the media team showed Caceres, Ukake and Nchukwu. You think Sayers is being forced to have them involved? No, I don't think he is. It doesn't. You'll often get under 21s players training with the first team just to have a look at them, just to have a look and see how they adapt. Doesn't mean for a minute that this is Ruben Sayers' biggest chance to make a splash as a manager. Certainly since Southampton, but I would even argue in much better circumstances to succeed, because he took over when Southampton were bottom of the Premier League. Had an okay record with them. I wouldn't try and twist it any other way because they still got relegated. But this is his best chance to kick on personally. I do not think for a minute he will be told, you have to play Caceres there. If he ends up being a League 2 winger, I don't think he'll play him. I don't think he'll play him. Whether he's asked to or not, which I would highly doubt anyway, I don't think that'll happen, because everything is riding on this for Sayers as well. I don't think that will happen. I certainly hope not anyway, Max. Michael says, not worried at the moment, Jimmy. However, if this window is not a good one, alarm bells will start ringing. Up the Ramble. Yeah, I agree, Michael. That's fair as well. Surely the new owners are wanting to buy players that can make the step up to the Prem, says Dan. High ceiling players and foreign gems, hopefully. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. I'll take another Illiman and die. I'll take another one of them, Dan. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Wonder if there's going to be any young prospects from across the city we can poach with the chaos going on over there. Josh, do you know what? I've not even thought about it. What are them Cadamartri kids doing? I know City were after one of them. Danny's involved with our youth setup. Pluck, 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 pluck. Would love that. Would love that. Dog eat dog, innit? Something I've had to learn about the last few days as well. Gary says, at last, some volume. Gaza from the Skegness branch. It's just, I'm not used to having to set up the microphone manually every single time. It's me being an idiot and something I have to get used to. Chris says, we were desperate for a right back like Kessler Hayden, a real miss. I agree with that. I agree, which is why we're getting him a little bit twitchy. But we ain't got him, have we? We ain't got him. Michael says, morning, Jimmy, not looking forward to this season. Thank you. I thought you meant this stream for a minute. To be honest, very disappointing at the minute. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. We'll see, Michael. We'll see. Once one or two start coming in, hopefully we'll get a little bit more to be excited about. Are you interested in Josh Brownhill? Apparently he's thinking about going to Leicester. Josh Brownhill will stay at Burnley. I'd be amazed, JB, if he left Burnley. And if he does leave Burnley, it won't be to come back to the Championship. As I say, I'd be absolutely shocked. The only thing that will get him there is the Sean Dyche factor potential. No, because would he at Burnley with Sean Dyche? Yeah, he was. Maybe Sean Dyche signed him for Burnley. Max says, was it a trial with United when he was released by Man United a few years ago? He said on a podcast, mate, I don't know if it will give us a chance. Josh Brownhill was on trial with us. I don't know. I don't think we'll sign Josh Brownhill at all. Sacking Wilder for, why would Josh Brownhill sign for us when Burnley are desperate to keep him in Premier League? It don't make sense to me. Sacking Wilder for Sayers was as unpredictable as you can get, says Scott. I blooming love Brownhill. I wanted him last season. He's a great player, but I can't see him coming to United. I'd love it, but I can't see it. Mark says, we got our first player last season on the 4th of July with a manager in place from the previous season who knew the team. So surely Sayers won't be making signings just yet. And that's the argument, isn't it? And that might mean we missed out on a few earlier deals. But that makes sense to me too, Mark. It does, pal. You think Sam Smith might be a target? That's my wife. I know he's at Wrexham, did well for Sayers and played his best football at Reading. No, I'd be very surprised. Very surprised. Matt says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're good, pal. Only just come on. I'm having to rewatch it back. Any incomings this week? I would like to think so, Matt, but do not guarantee it. Jim Bob, are you getting worried now? No new signings yet? I'm a little bit concerned at times. We'll see. Max says, yes, Brownhill was on trial. He said on a podcast, pal, when Otis Khan was there. Oh, interesting. JB says, to be honest, mate, I was shocked at the link. Turfcast said the link. Turfcast, don't know what they're on about. No, I'm only joking, obviously. Shout out to Joe. Hope he's well. Not heard from him for a little bit. Obviously forgotten about us now that he's Premier League. So, there's just a couple more comments coming in. I'll wait for him to pull through, and then we will wrap up because, yes, we've gone a lot longer than 20. In fact, we've gone half an hour. Scott says, the names linked with us shows me the direction the owners are going. Tyler Binden, Ash Phillips, Louie Barry, Lewis Kumas, etc. All young talent with possible future profits. Sayers is someone who likes to work with young squads. The one thing I will say is, we said on the Ash Phillips ramble that we did, I think it was a 10-minute transfer that we did a couple of weeks ago probably now, it would be decent if it's a signing. If it's a permanent signing, which it looks like it might be, rumoured to be about £6 million. I think that's decent in terms of long-term planning for the club because there's certainly a player in there. I just didn't think he was first team ready per se to be playing top end of the Championship. So I would be happy with that. Really happy with that, to be honest. No one noticed Peck's in the video. Are you worried? No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Sidney Peck, but I do think there is a chance he leaves this summer. If I'm honest, I don't think he's gone already. If that's what the question is, but Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Anyway, I'm going to call it there. Thank you to everybody for joining me this morning. It's interesting, isn't it? Never a dull moment. It's never boring being a blade, as they say. And we'll keep you posted. Keep it ramble. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 8.6, I think it says here. That's unbelievable. Thank you to everyone's continued support. Hit the notification bell so you know every time we're going live. We've got a hot topic tonight for our Platinum Ramblers that'll be released on Saturday to the world. So we'll do hot topic tonight, and then, as I've said earlier, you'll be getting a view from the mountain tomorrow night, as well as another 10-minute transfer in the morning, obviously. So thanks again to everybody that joined us, and I will catch you in a bit. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades!